Hey everyone, I hope you're all having a good evening. So here we go again. Let's go over some crypto news here. And today is February 13th, 7 o'clock my time. So first up, I just like how this article says Bitcoin goes mainstream as institutions hold 3% of Bitcoin's circulating supply. Now, what really qualifies as something going mainstream? I don't think going mainstream means that institutional investors are holding a lot of, said asset or commodity. I think, when your grandma and your parents and, your kids or whoever start talking to you about Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies, then I would say it's probably started going more mainstream. Like you got to think about like adoption in terms of, recent technologies like the internet, or when people got smartphones. It just think about how long it took for people to actually, get a computer or an Apple iPhone or whatever. But what's awesome about Bitcoin is that it's literally just an app that you can download and then buy some through some exchange or something like that. So it's the ability for adoption is a lot quicker than I would say the internet or smartphones were. But I just found it funny that this is what qualifies as going mainstream is that when institutional investors have 3%, like, like someone's got to have the rest. But I just think that's funny. Moving on, here's an article that doesn't talk about what the headline says it talks about. So Marcel Pechman, or Peckman, or however you say his name, the title of this article is how ETH2, DeFi, and Bitcoin price will impact Ethereum's CME futures. Sorry, and then it goes on to not talk about how Bitcoin, DeFi, or ETH2 will impact the CME futures for Ethereum. So this is a pointless article because it talks about other commodities and then like the South African coal. Like that was not that wasn't even in the title of the article. Like I think there's like a sentence or two in here about the CME futures for Ethereum, and it's just like, what are you even writing? What are you even writing about? It's so funny because it's like, I mean, there's not a whole lot of news that I'm gonna go over here in the next couple of minutes, but it's like you couldn't have picked something. You at least couldn't have done the actual research to figure out why ETH2 and DeFi and Bitcoin's price will impact the Ethereum CME futures price. Like you talked about other commodities and not cryptocurrencies, but other fiat currencies in this article instead of what you said you were going to talk about. Just rename the article. Just how other currencies and assets and commodities will in fact affect Ethereum CME futures, or how because the article talking about was how these futures, when they were enacted, the price went up, and then these futures, when they were enacted, the price started to go down in a currency, and then here's a future enacted and the price went up. So it's like and then here's the price going down for another future. And what is even the point of this thing? Like, come on, what was his name? Michael, Marcel. All right, Marcel, change this thing up because it doesn't make any sense. All right, moving on. Morgan Stanley is to consider Bitcoin for $100 billion investment wing. That does not mean that $150 billion of a subsidiary of Morgan Stanley, Counterpoint Global is a subsidiary. They have $150 billion in assets under their subsidiary. That doesn't mean that $150 billion is going to come pouring into Bitcoin as soon as they get regulatory approval or anything like that. But even if 10% or if 1%, you're looking at a $1.5 billion, which is roughly what Tesla just put into Bitcoin. And we saw like a $6,000, one-day candle. I've been drinking, guys, so I'm a little, I got a little gas in me. But yeah, so if 1% would be 1.5 billion. So just imagine if they put actually like 10% into into Bitcoin. That would be quite the move. We might see I don't want to get too obnoxious with price predictions, but if they put 10%, which would be $15 billion, and that we got it, I mean, we legit got like a $4 to $5 to $6,000 one-day candle in Bitcoin's price when Tesla just announced. See, here's kind of what I have a little bit of a problem with the price of Bitcoin. I'm just going to ramble here for a second. Is that when you see like announcements like Tesla saying that, oh, we bought $1.5 billion worth of Bitcoin, but the price did not move until it was announced, that means that I think Bitcoin moves more on hype and like social interactions than it more or less does on actual trading sometimes. Just because, like, if, you know, Tesla had obviously been buying Bitcoin up to that point, and we were barely witnessing any sort of price increase over that period of time leading up to the announcement. Once the announcement happened, then a lot, I mean, you could say that more people, individuals like retail and maybe other, institutional investors got in at the time. But I find that it's interesting how the price did not move up leading up to that announcement, and then it took the announcement to actually create that $5,000-$6,000 candle in that one day. So if Morgan Stanley's subsidiary were to actually invest 1.5 to $15 billion, because they're definitely not going to invest the whole thing, I wouldn't expect them to even invest half or a quarter. I think they're going to dip their toes in and then kind of go from there. However, it does seem that Morgan Stanley is bullish on cryptocurrencies and Bitcoin in particular. So we could definitely see, I mean, if we saw, all right, just doing simple math, like if we saw a $5,000 candle on a $1.5 billion investment from Tesla, if these people put in $15 billion, then you would expect a $50,000 candle in one day. Now, I don't think that's going to happen. I don't think we're going to see a $50,000 candle in one day, and until it's like decades from now. I think we could possibly see that in the future, but at this moment in time, I do think Bitcoin should be a lot higher than it is right now, but I don't think that 150, 15, or $1.5 billion is going to give us significant price improvement in the short term. So there's that. And then moving on. The SEC. So the SEC, I mean, they're trying to be positive with, getting regulatory, rules in place for cryptocurrencies and Bitcoin, but it's like, you're trying to do this after the fact. Like you weren't going to put all this effort to create a system or a structure in place for companies to acquire or trade or custody Bitcoin until after the fact that Tesla, BNY Mellon, MasterCard, Visa, MicroStrategy, Grayscale, after all those billions of dollars have poured, now you want regulatory approval? Like you want to set up a system now? Well, of course you do, because all you want is money. Like all they want is a piece of the pie. And while this Pierce person, who is a part of the SEC, she's a Republican commissioner at the agency, at the SEC. Crypto mom apparently is what she's been known for, or her nickname, or whatever. They're trying to be positive with it, but at the same time, it's like, why did you wait so long to do this? Like you should have done this a long time ago, because no one respects the SEC. If y'all actually went after people that were naked short selling on stocks, because I'm in some of those stocks, I'm not talking about GameStop or AMC or those. I'm talking about like some penny stocks that I've been trapped in for years, like because of naked short selling, where market makers are allowed to create shares out of thin air to borrow from. That way they can push the price down, and because it's a naked short, there's no interest on these shares that have been created out of thin air, so there's no need to cover ever. And so the price can just get hammered down until, they decide that, a market maker decides that they actually want to realize some profits, or, close out for the year, or change a different position or something like that. Like it's really going to take just a lot of good movement forward from the SEC to actually get people on their side to respect them in any sort of way. Because even Elon Musk was straight up in a tweet or in an interview with Joe Rogan, he said, "I do not respect the SEC." Those are his words, pretty much verbatim. And I agree with him. Like, these people, they don't go after the companies or the market makers or the institutions that are creating a manipulated market. And so, like, if these people actually had some teeth and some balls, then, you know, maybe some people would actually listen to them. But at the moment, I'm sorry, guys, I don't think anyone respects the SEC really at all right now. So I'm willing to open to see if they'll change, but it doesn't look like it. So then, kind of just last, I want to touch on the price action here. So I'm gonna take some credit. So I made a video the other day about how Litecoin is undervalued, and I would just like to say Litecoin has been up over 10% in the past 24 hours and up 42% in the past 7 days. So I think I made that video a day or two ago. So I'm just going to take credit for that, because if y'all watched that video, you would see that Litecoin's ready to go. Like, it's not slow, it's super fast. You can already, like, I signed up on my phone through the Litecoin, what's it, the blockchain card, Visa debit card, or whatever it is. You can just Google those words, Litecoin Visa debit card, and you'll find it. So I signed up with that. Yes, there's a $5 a month fee, and you have to keep $10 in there that you can't spend, but you can withdraw that $10. And, you know, it's a little finicky, you know, for a new product. But I decided to sign up for it, and lo and behold, it actually worked. So I got it up on Apple Pay on my phone, and I don't even need the physical card. And I have paid for 2 smoothies so far, like with Litecoin. Like, it just converts it directly into to cash, and it settles without having to make any trades or anything like that. And so I think that one of the reasons why Litecoin is just a little bit like left behind is because it's not sexy. There's not a whole lot. I mean, don't get me wrong, there are products being built on top of Litecoin, but it's just like, it's not Bitcoin. It's a copy of Bitcoin. It's a legit code copy of Bitcoin. And I think a lot of people just don't like it because, you know, there's 4 times as much supply. It's not the store of value. But if we're looking at Litecoin as the silver to Bitcoin's gold, then Litecoin should be, you know, 1/9 to 1/12 the price of Bitcoin, which, let's do some simple math here, at least a $4,000 Litecoin. So, like, if we're going by that metric, by the silver and gold metric, you know, Litecoin still hasn't even surpassed its all-time previous high. Let's see if it'll actually show the chart here. Where's the chart? I don't like it when it does this. It goes straight to the market, and I don't get to see the chart. So look, previous high was at like $360 or something like that. We're about halfway there. We're a little over halfway there now. Like, and then in terms of Bitcoin's value against Litecoin, look, I mean, you could have invested in here. Let's do this a little bit easier. 0.003193 Bitcoin all the way up to, let's see, if you were able to, you know, get the top 0.02133 Bitcoin. So, I mean, that's a significant improvement on, what is that, 6 times? Yeah, I think that's like 6x from the bottom there. And Litecoin, up until this recent price movement here, has been going down. Like, this is probably one of the cheapest times that you could have gotten Litecoin, and still now, like, I just think it's super undervalued. Like, it's ready to go. I mean, it's fast and it's easy, and I don't know, maybe I'm just pumping Litecoin right now, but I really like it. And, you know, if we're looking at another metric in terms of price, like, if there's 4 times as much Litecoin, then that means Litecoin should be 1/4 the price of Bitcoin. And if you're thinking in maybe logarithmic or exponential terms, it could be, well, you know, 1/16. So that kind of falls back into that category or that range of the silver to gold. You know, 1 to 9, I think, is about what comes out of the ground, and then it, you know, kind of averages out to 1 to 12 versus like above ground versus gold. You know, but I'm gonna ramble here for about 2 seconds. If you didn't know, there's actually less physical silver above ground than there is gold. And that's because Gold has been hoarded and stored in vaults and banks and in people's jewelry, that they hold on to forever. And at most of, I would say probably 95 to 99% of all gold that's been mined is still above ground and investable format, even jewelry. Silver, on the other hand, has been used in consumer electronics over the past 50 to 70 years and has just been thrown away into landfills. And so when you really start thinking about it and doing the math, you can even look up on some websites that there is physically less investable silver bullion above ground than there is gold. So at least silver should be at parity with gold, up where I think we're around $2,000, somewhere around there, 1,800, something like that, and even more than. So, just something to consider. But like, if Litecoin is the silver to Bitcoin's gold, then I totally and fully expect Litecoin to explode higher from here. I would really like it to. I like this recent price movement. We've gone up like $30 in the past 24 hours, so it's really nice to see. I'd like to see more. So I hope y'all found this video interesting. Again, like, subscribe, share. I'm not a financial advisor, but if you could give me some feedback, like, do you like the format? Do you like the information? Is there anything you'd like to see differently? I'm just kind of going over some news here in the evening. Just looking for some help out there. So I'll see you on the next one.